going to ask your name, I'm going to ask the city you were born in, and I'm going to ask your date of birth. And I'm going to ask your credit card details. No, stop.
My name is Fazila. I'm from Myanmar, Burma. My date of birth, 25th of June.
I am Divya. I'm born in Erode, Tamil Nadu, India, and my birthday is June 7th.
My name is Mirza. I'm from Karachi, Pakistan. I was born in January 10th.
Beautiful. Okay. We all heard the same thing, right? Can I ask you, what city was he born in? What city was he born? Was she born in? Okay. By the way, this is not your fault and it's not your fault. Did we all hear the same thing? We did, right? In 60 seconds, you forgot all of it. You just heard it. She just said it. The entire room forgot all of it. So let me ask you this. When you go to a networking event, when you go to a job interview, what do we usually do? My name is Yasser Khan, I have this degree, this program, I studied this, XYZ. Will you say that knowing that we're going to forget it immediately? Can you see the importance of this? So remember this, it's not what you say, it's what they remember. It's not what you say, it's what they remember. If you list out all of your credentials, I have an MBA and this, blah, 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 and they forget, how likely are you to get considered for the opportunity? Right? So instead of speaking in facts, what I would encourage you to do is speak in stories. Stories are significantly more memorable, and also only you can stand out by telling those stories. So let me give you an example. In my past life, well, I'm saying that as if I'm 75 years old. A few years ago, I used to work as a recruiter, and it was my job to go through resumes and interview people. One specific job was for a salesperson at a big hotel chain. The hiring manager reaches out to me and says, hey, here are 5 applications of people we already know who will be amazing for the job. Can you please just quickly interview them and shortlist them? And by the way, we have to show management that we've looked at outside applicants too. Can you just interview a couple of people from the outside as well? So I said, sure, you can relate, right? So I do that. I interview those 5 people on the short list. I select 3 of them. Then I interview a couple of people from the outside. And one day I see an application and it said, let's just call him Sam for now, Sam's application. Sam is from Ireland. This role requires 10 years of experience in hospitality. He has 3, which he has no Canadian experience. And by the way, he just landed in Canada 2 months ago. If you were a betting person, do you think this is a good fit for the job? Yes or no? Right? At least at first glance, right? Now, I had some time to kill, so I called Sam up and I'm like, hey, Sam, why did you apply for the job? And Sam says, well, Yasser, I grew up in Ireland, and my uncle and my aunt, they raised me, and they had a big wedding venue. So I worked there as a waiter. Eventually, I became a supervisor, and I became extremely passionate about working at events. Now, Ireland isn't the biggest place. So eventually, I outgrew Ireland, and I wanted to find a new opportunity. But I was also very passionate about sustainability. So I wanted to find a venue that is not only the best in terms of hospitality, but also has a sustainability element to it. So when I did research, I found the #1 organization in the world that has those 2 things is the Vancouver Convention Center. So I went to my immigration lawyer, I packed my stuff, I moved all the way out here, and this is the only job that I have applied for. No pressure on me, huh? So I'm listening to him. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? I'm thinking, they told me 10 years of experience. You have nowhere near that. You just landed. So when I went to the hiring manager, I said, hey, I shortlisted these people. They're probably going to fit the bill. But I talked to this guy. He seemed really passionate about it. Probably won't get the job, but why don't you just talk to him? So I told her the story he told me. And to my surprise, the hiring manager said, yeah, let's just bring him in for an interview. Maybe there's something else we can do. So we have a job interview. The hiring manager interviews 3 people, then interviews Sam. And she says, yeah, let's bring back this person, and let's bring back Sam as well. I'm thinking, wait, why are we bringing back Sam? He has 7 years left of experience. He doesn't have the Canadian experience. Something about it. So Sam goes to the second interview, the third interview, the fourth interview. And eventually I get the call from the hiring manager, Yasser, we're gonna get the job offer to Sam. Now mind you, I'm the one who placed him. But I'm angry because I'm thinking, why did you take him over all the other people with 10 years of experience? Those are the criteria you gave me. And she said, Yasser, I don't know what it is. Everyone else had the experience, but he's the only one who sounded like he really wanted. He's the only one who sounded like he wanted. He had the passion. So let me ask you this. In a similar scenario, when you go for a job interview, are there people with similar degrees than yours who are interviewing for the same role, yes or no? Is it a competitive role, yes or no? If everyone has the same level of experience, the same degree, who is going to stand out? The one who has the better story. So from now on, when you go to the networking events outside, I'd like you to train yourself. Don't list down a barrage of facts that people will immediately forget. Think about a story. When an employee hears this, hey, this person's different. And I'm sure right now you met 10, 15, 20 people, maybe 50 people if you're really social today, yes? When you go home, how many of them are you going to remember? Are you going to remember Ahmed, the Scrum Master that you met first thing in the morning? I don't even know what a Scrum Master is, right? Some people come up to you and say, I'm a business analyst. What the hell does that mean? So instead, speak in stories. It's not what you say, it's what they remember. It's not what you say, it's what they remember. Let me just bring this all together with a nice story at the end. Now, the version of me you're seeing right now, is a version that I have worked on for many, many years. When I grew up, I was an introvert, I was quite shy, and it's because I was quite underweight and I had really messed up teeth. So that made me an easy target for bullies. So I had very, very low self-esteem. I remember when I was 7 years old, I was invited to my first birthday party. And I don't get invited to a lot of birthday parties, so I was really happy. Now this wasn't just any birthday party, this was a costume birthday party. Meaning you dress up as your favorite cartoon character. Now I got some intel that the girl that I had a crush on, she was going to be dressed up as Tweety Bird. Remember the yellow bird? Familiar with it? Right? So I'm thinking, what character goes well with Tweety Bird? What can I dress up as? So my 7-year-old decides, I'm going to dress up as Bugs Bunny. Both of you, you're right? You want the honey, you got to dress like the bunny. So, terrible line, don't use that please. So, I show up as Bugs Bunny. I walk into the venue. Now you would see Superman, Wonder Woman, all types of characters there. And I see Tweety Bird there. And before I can say anything, she looks at me and says, Yasser, of course you're Bugs Bunny. And I felt so happy because she doesn't know a whole lot about me. So I'm thinking, how did she know that I was going to dress up as Bugs Bunny? So I said, how did you know this about me? And she said, Yasser, of course you're Bugs Bunny because of your 2 large, ugly front teeth. And that's how I felt in front of everyone. 2 large, ugly front teeth. When she said that, if you had known the Yasser prior to that, you would have seen a happy, jolly version of Yasser. After that day, my mouth closed. I would not open my mouth in school. I wouldn't talk to friends because I was ashamed of the way I looked. 2 ugly front teeth. It was stuck in my mind. And that changed my behavior for the next 20 years. Why? Because in those 5 words, she made me feel an emotion. So powerful that I couldn't let it go for 20 years. Now, as an adult, when I grew up, I had very low self-esteem still. I was in college, and I was at the grocery store, and I had all my ramen and tuna. When you're broke, that's the kind of food you eat, okay? Don't judge my diet. So I went to the cashier. She's scanning all the tuna, all the ramen, and she's probably thinking, how much of this do you eat every day, man? But then, she looks over at me, and she asks me a question that completely changes my life. She says, how would you like to pay? A seemingly ordinary question, right? To which I said, credit card, please. Credit card, please. The moment I say that, she looks up, locks her eyes to mine, and she says, you have a good voice. And she continues scanning the groceries. Now you have to remember, I did not get any validation in my life. I did not get any compliments. So when I took those tuna cans and the ramen back home, I'm thinking, she said I have a good voice. Oh my God, someone gave me a compliment. Maybe I do have a good voice. Maybe I should talk more. Maybe I should speak up in meetings. Maybe I should make that YouTube video. 10 years later, now I'm making videos online. I've got 5 million followers. I teach public speaking. Thank you very much. And I have the pleasure of being in front of you today. The reason I tell you that story is because when she said, you have a good voice, it took 5 words to bring my confidence back. And it also took 5 words to destroy my confidence 20 years later. So I want you to ask yourself, it's not just what you say, it's what they remember. When you speak, do people remember anything about you? The list of facts they'll forget, but what you make them feel, they will remember. Now, if you want to be successful in this market, you want to be valuable, right? But you cannot be valuable if you are not memorable. You cannot be valuable if you are not memorable. So as you leave this room, when you talk to people, what I'd like you to do, speak in stories, ditch the facts. Everyone else can say the same thing. And I want you to do an emotional audit. When I speak, what do they feel when they speak to me? Can they feel better interacting with me than they did before? So if there's one single thing you remember from my entire talk, and hopefully you can finish the sentence for me, it's not what you say, it's what they. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate your time. Thank you. I'll be in the back for autographs, by the way, in case.